Hello and welcome. Now, first of all, if you're new to the channel, then I'll start by saying I'm not just one of these social media people who sit at home giving out about everything. I am genuinely a very much working director of photography for the last 37 years, actually. So I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to cameras. So bear with me, okay? I'll try and keep this as precise as possible. I don't know what level anybody is at in terms of taking pictures, video, stills, action cameras, DSLR, whatever it is. So I'll try and sort of cover all bases and keep it as simple as possible without, of course, teaching Granny how to suck eggs and patronising people. So please bear with me because it is a wide audience. As well as doing my day job, my hobby is my YouTube channel, which is predominantly motorcycle related. So with a lot of this action camera stuff, I do relate it to motorcycles. However, please decipher the information you need to know and adjust it and take it with you to whatever your hobby or use is for an action camera. Okay, let's dive straight into it. This is the Action 6, hotly anticipated and hot off the press. I've only had this a few days. So I will be doing much more further in-depth analysis of the camera as I go through the next few months with it. I think DJI, first of all, I must say as well, that I bought this with my own money, as much as me contacting DJI to say, do you know I'm responsible for selling hundreds of your cameras because I am a bit of a fanboy of DJI. I think the colour science, I think everything they do, including listening to their client base, the audience, if you like, more than any other action camera company does. I think it's brilliant. They do make wonderful cameras. However, with this release, I couldn't help grit my teeth when I see a lot of the media hype, a lot of the buzzwords and everything revolving around this camera in particular. So the first thing I want to talk about, the square sensor. There's so many people online I'm looking at, including all of the people who were given the cameras for nothing, just to promote the cameras on the first day. They're saying, oh my God, the square sensor is the best thing ever and it's going to change the way I do things and whatever else. Yes, if you're a very busy YouTuber and you have an Instagram channel and you're a TikToker, and what I mean by that is, as well as being able to record 16:9, which in old money, if you like, is landscape, a lot of these, well, TikTok and Instagram now prefer 9:16, which is portrait mode, so the camera that way up. So rather than you having to say things twice when you're out on a motorbike like me to suit sort of all platforms, with this square sensor, you can now just record it once and take it in your edit, take it and spit it out in any format you like, or both formats if you like, to cover all of your social media output. It's great for that, but unless you're doing that, don't buy the camera just for that, whatever you do, because it doesn't make the picture quality any better at all. And, you know, still at the end of the day, I'm all about sort of streamlining my workflow, trying to, therefore, I mean, my ultimate goal is to produce more content, but in order to do that, I have to streamline my workflow and make it easier in the edit. The last thing I want to be doing is sort of spitting out and reframing and resizing from the square sensor in this camera. So I already have just put my camera into the 16:9 format. That's what I use on the chin of my helmet. And that's the output I will be using for the foreseeable. It does not improve the picture quality at all. Now, the 1:1 sensor is better, slightly better in low light, but because it's square, just don't get fooled by those buzzwords, okay? The next thing I bought this camera for is the Osmo Audio. The Osmo Audio is fantastic. This is the little latest Mic 3. I'll try and give you a little close-up there. That's the Mic 3 system. Yes, it's brilliant when you're not on a motorbike. It's only good when you're on a motorbike. If you've seen some of my previous videos when the DJI released the Osmo 360, it still clips, okay? I have a big problem with this. So within these cameras, well, this camera and the 360 camera released in the summer there, it has something called adaptive gain control. That really does help massively. And on board of this little microphone transmitter, it has 32-bit float. So you can really rescue the sound. Again, more work in the edit. So it's not you know, straight out of the box, do it all solution by any means. But the Osmo audio, what it does mean is that obviously it transmits from here to the camera wirelessly, and you do not need to use a receiver for the other end of this to stick into the side of the camera. The receiver is already built in this camera, as it is with the Osmo 360. So what that does mean, if you're a motorcycle vlogger like me, is you can go out, especially if you live in Ireland, and ride in the rain, which it does quite a bit, and you can keep the whole system waterproof. It's brilliant, it's genius. The lowest level, audio-wise, even using the adaptive gain control, you can set with the wireless system within this camera is -12. But here is the Osmo Action 4, which I've just jumped from. I skipped out the 5 because I just didn't like the natural colour profile, even though I shoot everything in D-Log-M on all cameras now. Might come on to that in a minute. But you can take this, so I'm still talking about the audio, sorry. I have a terrible habit of going off on tangents, so please bear with me. This is the little audio adapter. Now I've sort of screwed this onto the side of my Action 4, so I can't just take it off and plug it into the side of the Action 6 to demonstrate. But believe me, it does work because I have another one of these as a spare. I've tried it already. It does go into the side of the Action 6. And then, of course, you plug your wired lav mic in from DJI as well. The lav mics are only €39. The adapters are as cheap as chips as well. And I still prefer the sound of the wired lav mic into that little adapter into the side of the camera. It's by far the better sound in a motorcycle helmet for that purpose, for that use, okay? Now, obviously, it's rendered useless if you're riding in pouring rain. I've written off 2 or 3 cameras with the rain just seeping in through that little audio adapter. So, you know, in cases like that, I will definitely be using the Mic 3 mounted inside the helmet. And, you know, it's good. It's good. It's very good. And it's getting better the more I experiment and play around with positions inside of the helmet as well. And of course, if you buy the kit of the Mic 3, which comes with 2 transmitters, you can also mount one on the back of your jacket looking down at the exhaust and then start introducing your engine noises and everything. You can really play around, and there's quite a bit you can do with that. The next thing I want to talk about, now of course I'm only skirting over everything here. This is really the first look at this camera. And it's for you, whether you're thinking about hopping from the 4 or the 5 Pro into getting one of these. And at the end of the day, it's your call. I'm only giving you my advice and telling you what I've done. Actually, I'll come back on to where I was before. I skipped out the 5 because when they released that, the natural colour profile, now I was shooting everything because the colours were so good in the 4. I'm pointing at this, that's the 6. Because the natural colours were so good in the 4, I didn't want to shoot in log because then I would have to colour grade everything in the edit. Again, adding more time. Forget that. So I love the colours, the standard colours straight out of the 4. The standard, even though I've only had this camera, the 6, for the last couple of days, the standard colours are great. But with the 5, they were absolutely awful. Oversaturated, too contrasty, horrible. So I skipped the camera as a result of it, even though DJI did release a firmware update later on. I just bypassed the camera. Couldn't see any other need to upgrade. But because I've skipped that generation, I thought it's about time I got into the 6 for the reasons that I'm explaining now today in this video. But I have decided, because I have DJI drones now, I have the DJI 360 camera and the 6, and I've got 3 Osmo Action 4s now. I've loads of DJI stuff, and I'm just using D-Log-M across the board as the color profile. And if you go onto DJI's website, in the download part on each camera or drone, you can download the LUT, which you can put into any sort of edit platform, and just drop the LUT onto onto your footage, and it just makes everything look the same if you shoot in D-Log-M. So for me, using so many different camera sources, that is the answer, and it's really easy to do. Yes, I know you have to do that step, which is an extra in the edit, but it really takes seconds. And for me, like I say, it keeps all of the cameras looking the same, and by far superior to the standard and natural color profiles in any of the cameras, which leads me on to DJI have introduced this thing with their different picture profiles within the standard color profile on this. I would only assume it's they're aiming that at holiday makers, because if you're semi-pro or pro and you're using this camera, you're not going to be sort of using burnt-in film looks or different colour looks, because to rescue the normal colours after you've done that, after you've shot anything using one of those colour profiles, just forget it. You'll never get the normal colour picture back. So just ignore that. That's all I've done. I've set my camera up, as I do with all of my cameras, as 4K, 50 frames per second, which brings me on to the variable aperture. So when you lock everything into manual mode, as I do, because of your 180-degree shutter rule, you know, to get the best motion blur. If you're shooting at 50 frames per second, you want 100 as your shutter speed. Just lock it in as the 100. Allow the ISO to do your variable aperture shifts. They've introduced variable aperture. I think it's an absolute load of again, media hype, because it's not like it's got a mechanical iris like a stills camera to allow a certain amount of light in or anything like that. It's digitally enhanced aperture. Again, it's just to suck you in. Forgive me, that's an email come through, probably from DJI, saying we'll never ever give you a free camera after you keep releasing videos like this, so apologies. But yeah, it's digitally enhanced. They didn't need to do it. The ISO, the variable ISO in these cameras does an incredible job, especially, like I say, if you're like me and you like everything on manual to get the best out of the camera. Just keep the ISO on variable, but they've, like I say, introduced the variable aperture, but it's only from f2 to f4. It's like a stop and a bit of exposure, one stop and a bit. What's the point? If they were going to introduce a variable aperture, at least make it from f2.8 to f11 or something like that, and cover a full range. And then hopefully, well, normally in stills cameras, it's a lot smoother to adjust your aperture than it is to start riding the ISO, which introduces gain in a DSLR camera, or the cameras I use for work, the like the FX9, the Sony FX9. But we won't go there. Sorry, that's going down another rabbit hole. Again, another marketing hype, absolute load of codwash. And then they're saying they've introduced a starburst effect at night. Yes, they have. Again, digitally enhanced. Now, with a stills camera, when you shut your aperture right down to f11 or f16, f22, then you will get a starburst with a real long exposure of a street light, say, a strong light source. You will get a starburst. So they're trying to emulate that digitally. They didn't need to do it. And it's hilarious watching all of the social media influencers, again, who've been given the cameras for nothing. I am not bitter here. I really am not. It's just a lot of these I can see through straight away. They're sitting there. They've never shot a frame for a television company in their lives, but they're sitting there like the authority on action cameras and video cameras. And you can see straight through them. They haven't... Anyway, I shall refrain. Okay, I'll keep this brief. I shall move on. What else have I covered? Oh yeah, what they have released actually is a very, very useful pack of ND filters for this camera. Now, if you've got third-party filters for your 5 Pro or for the 4, they won't fit because these are slip-on filters. I shall try and demonstrate. But when I say they're useful filters, as well as them being slip-on, they're also useful a range of filters. So the ND8, in that packet of 3 filters, ND8, ND16, ND32. Fabulous. Long gone are the days where they'd supply you with an ND 250 or something like that, you know, something you're never ever going to use unless you're sort of orbiting the sun on a spacecraft. Okay, so something like that, I really like that. It just slips over the existing lens guard, which is brilliant, because I never like, as I did with my 4, taking these ones off, unscrewing them in the field, and then putting your ND filters on. There's always dust and whatever else from the elements getting in there. The other thing they've introduced for this. The 6 is a magnetic mount, which works both ways around. Now, on my helmet mount, it's fixed, so you're only ever going to put your action camera on the helmet mount one way. So why they did this, I'll never know. It might save you 1 second of your life if you're using a selfie stick like this and you have it the wrong way around and you need to turn it around just to get the camera on. It's to do with the polarity of the magnets. It only locks on one way. So as you can see, and there's a very strong magnet. These mounts are brilliant. Again, DJI introduced this to the whole action camera market. Absolutely brilliant. So there you go. It'll mount both ways. Doesn't affect my life in any shape or form, but they've obviously listened to some people out there wanting it to work both ways. The other thing they introduced, I'm saying the company DJI introduced, is the macro lens for this camera, as well as another lens. I think it's some sort of telephoto lens or something like that, but the macro lens. Again, gimmick. Like, if you're seriously into macro photography, you're never ever going to use an action camera for it, okay? Unless you want to put a camera like this in your hamster's cage and get real close-up shots of your hamster coming up with the lens. I don't know where I just got that idea from, but it does not focus automatically. You have to manually focus the aperture. You have to manually focus the macro lens, not the aperture lens, the macro lens. And with a viewfinder that size, I wish you all the best in the world at nailing the focus on that, because I certainly couldn't do it. The other thing I wanted to talk about as well, it's quite useful this in a few scenarios. They've introduced hand gestures on this camera. Now, when you're on a motorbike, you've got to keep the camera switched on, okay? Obviously, to recognize a hand gesture, it's just going to eat up your battery. Battery life, however, on this is incredible. It's over 2 hours now. They keep on getting better all the time, the DJI battery lives. Excellent. I haven't done any overheating tests. It doesn't really apply to me and my uses for this. I'll keep it all motorcycle related, like I said at the beginning of the video, but when I'm riding along in Ireland, this camera ain't going to overheat. So the battery life, you are going to get over 2 hours now off one battery. Phenomenal, really. That's one side of the action camera market I've wished for years would improve, and DJI have done it. So fair play to them for that. But yeah, the hand gestures, you've got to keep your camera on, obviously, to recognize a hand gestures. It does work. Saying that, the only time I will use it is when I'm doing pieces to camera and I've got the camera on a sort of tripod like this on the other side of the road, watching me walking around the bike. I'll be able to sort of hand gesture the camera to stop and start and whatever all of the other commands are, which comes with it. But when I'm riding along and I want to start and stop the camera, I won't be using my hand gesture. But watch this. This is very exciting. This is a biggie for me. So when I'm on the motorbike and I see something approaching, which I want to talk about, and then I fire up the camera using the one button on the top. Sometimes it's taken 3 or 4 seconds in the past with older cameras, you know, to then, after pressing the button, to then have it locked into record. And then another 20 seconds after that for it to pick up the wireless mic. But watch this. Ready? 3, 2, 1. It's actually recording there now. It's actually recording. I'm looking at the red button on the back. As soon as I press that, less than 1 second, it's recording. It's locked into record. And I have done tests with the wireless mic, the Mic 3, and it picks it up immediately as well. So you don't need to keep the camera switched on for hand gestures. You just literally press that button and you're literally instantly recording. So that's a massive, massive step forward. That's probably the biggest reason which would justify me moving from the 4 or the 5 into the 6 as a motorcycle vlogger. You know, fair play to DJI for listening. They've always done that to their audience, and they've always tried to remedy what was broken. I'm not going to sit here and slag GoPro off, because without GoPro, you know, we wouldn't be where we are today in the world of action cameras. They introduced that whole system, and I, for one, shall be forever grateful. But you know, this year they've introduced a light on their camera which drains your battery even more. Like, goodbye GoPro. Insta360 this year introduced a printer as well as a sort of hand mount to make the camera a bit beefier. Why on earth you'd want a printer which takes about 2 or 3 minutes to print out one sort of Polaroid type of effect photograph? Yeah, 2 or 3 minutes to print out one, and then I don't know, it's all far too gimmicky for me. If you're into action cameras, you want them for a specific purpose, like your skiing, your bicycle, your motorbike, and for that, well, I will always go DJI for that. The drones are faultless in my professional side of things as a cameraman, and the action cameras have never failed me. The results are stunning, and they just keep on getting better. And on top of that, the most important thing is DJI keep listening to their clients, and yeah, I'm hugely grateful for that. I'm just thinking, and I'm looking at my little list at the side to see if I've missed out anything else. I don't think I have. Like I say, this is a very brief look. I was hoping to do this in 5 minutes. As always, I can never make things as concise as what I think I'm going to at the beginning. But I'd just like to say a big thank you to you. I hope this initial info has helped you. And if you are thinking about jumping from a 4 or a 5 Pro into one of these, obviously you have your own needs, your own uses. I just hope my information today has helped you somewhat. If you're new to the channel, please give me a like, and also one of those hype. Haven't a clue what that hype button does, but I presume it's only good news for the person who's created the video. So you might even think about hype in the video. And of course, ultimately, think about subscribing to the channel, because I will be bringing you an awful lot more videos, including this camera, in conjunction with the Osmo 360 and the DJI audio on board my motorbike very, very soon. But great to have you here. Thanks once again. Dave Perry, Really Good TV. It's a wrap.